welcome to our podcast interview about our retreat.
Absolutely, it's very exciting.
Candice, why don't you tell me about the title of our retreat?
Refresh, renew, and revive.
I think that sounds like a great title.
Yes.
Yes. We know that this is a retreat about meditation. We teach 8 different styles, or touch on those 8 styles of meditation. We know that when we usually think of meditation, we think of just one style. So this is a way of making meditation available to everyone.
That sounds great because one size doesn't fit all.
It doesn't, by individuality, right?
Absolutely.
So, Candice, why don't you tell me about your first experience with meditation?
Okay, well, actually my first experience, I think the audience will be surprised to learn that my mother was a very proactive, holistic mom back in the day, and she was trained by the Maharishi to meditate. And so she brought that into our household when my sister and I were 7 and 9 years old. And so we studied by someone that had been trained by the Maharishi, and her name was Cindy, and she came to the home and spent time teaching my sister and myself. And my mother would make sure that we would meditate in the morning before school and after school, and she would set a timer. And we were given a mantra to say. The mantra was a sound for TM meditation, Transcendental Meditation for our audience listeners.
Wow. Starting at such an early age, what were some of the obstacles or barriers that you faced with meditation?
Well, I have to tell you, meditation is an eye-opening experience, and it made me feel like I was extremely aware of everything in my school environment. And I have to tell you, I'm not sure that at age 9 and 10 I was ready to have that level of awareness, although I was gifted to have the education and a mother that was supportive. I wasn't sure what to do with it all. Excellent question, Wyatt.
Yeah. Thank you. And how do you feel that meditation has impacted or changed your life?
Well, I think going along the line of awareness, I think that it's caused me to be aware of my environment, my surroundings, my interactions with people. It's certainly helped me with collaboration, and it's helped me reach a sense of greater peace than anything that I've ever done or accomplished.
Yeah. It's such a different story than my story of meditation. I grew up in a Christian organization. We were taught that meditation was really praying and reading the Bible. That was pondering what the scripture spoke about for meditation.
I see.
And I never really experienced what meditation is until I was in my mid-30s. It was around 2013.
Mm-hmm.
I had lost a substantial amount of weight, and the psychologist at the time recommended that I go see a yoga instructor to get in touch with this new body of mine.
How wonderful.
Yeah, it was, I was 400 pounds. I lost about 200 pounds.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I don't know if my brain has caught up with my body yet, but it's much further along than it was. I started doing yoga, and it was very difficult for me to feel my body. They would say, open your heart. Or they would say, relax your shoulders. And to me, this was relaxed. And I couldn't feel what they were talking about. One of my yoga instructors put a singing bowl on me to do a sound session, and a bowl very similar to this one here, and it changed everything for me. my brain within 5 minutes started to settle. I wouldn't say that my brain emptied or had empty space. But as we learn with all the different types of meditation, for me, meditation was the spring. My brain was tight, coiled up, wound up. And in those moments where I was able to meditate, the spring just released, was able to release and unwind. And
That's a great way to describe it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. And that was the first time that it ever happened to me, them putting the bowl on my body. And from participating in their practice and participating in many more sound sessions with them, it had a major impact on my life. Some of the challenges were that my brain would never settle down or shut off. I probably have a little bit of ADHD.
Don't we all?
And my brain likes to think and think and think. And it just wouldn't shut off. And that was the first time that spring released and that tension was gone. And I remember feeling like I was floating. It felt like I was seeing some colors. I really felt like I was in that dream state. And it was this beautiful feeling that I never felt before.
I'm so happy that happened.
Yeah, thank you. We were talking about the benefits and how it shifted my life. And I remember for most of my life, I was in a rush to get everywhere. Maybe even had a little bit of road rage. I would get angry, I'd get impatient, I'd get upset that someone was pulling in front of me. After I was meditating for a while, I remember it was probably around 2017, I was driving and I realized that I just didn't feel angry anymore. I started to think back when the last time that I felt angry behind the wheel, that I felt that I was in a rush to get somewhere. It was really magical. That was just one benefit that it brought into my life.
I think our society is so task-oriented.
Yeah.
That it naturally lends itself to us feeling rushed from one thing to the next. And I think that meditation helps you to attain that state of relaxation that allows you to sit back on your laurels and go about your business in a more peaceful manner, in a more relaxed manner, as you stated.
Right, right. When you think about it, first there was gas lamps. For the most part, until electricity really became a household name and in everybody's house, our cycles very much so related to the sun and nature. And life was much slower and simpler. Families would have dinner together. I mean, back then the Model T was, around and almost nobody had them. So there wasn't all this rushing around. There was more time to sit. Many times families had to sit. The sun would go down and they would sit around a fire. They might play games. They might sing. Life today is very different. What would you say to someone who would see this and would just say, I just can't meditate?
Well, I think that is a very open and honest response. But I think that I would have to tell them that you can have a great sense of peace, fulfillment, and comfort like no other you've experienced. And I think that if a person can get to the point of having an open mind, that if they try it and see for themselves, try one of the 8 types that we'll be teaching, and they can see if they like that and if they can get to that experience. And it might actually, like you described, a different experience than I did. It might look entirely different and might give them a gift that they've never experienced previously.
Absolutely. I never thought that I could meditate. But the way found me. When we think of meditation, as a nurse practitioner and as having an extensive background as a PhD doctor in education, what are some of the benefits of meditation, like medical benefits?
I think the benefits of meditation are that it allows you to reach into your intuition, have a greater sense of peace and calm and relaxation. For me, when I'm triaging in the height of an emergency, I feel like my calmness and confidence about what I do is important for the patient that I'm caring for. And so I think that it makes me feel more self-assured and patient towards my patient in order to accomplish what I need to accomplish, because it wouldn't be very helpful to have a nurse practitioner that's very stressed and nervous and anxious, because that would transfer to the person that you're treating. A lot of times your patient will follow how you are, how you're feeling, and if you can help them get through their situation, it's much better.
Absolutely. Stress is one of those major issues that we see today. I also hear about so many people having issues with sleep and mental clarity. Can meditation impact sleep?
Absolutely. I think there are a lot of people that meditate in order to go to sleep. And you can meditate whenever. There are no hard and fast rules.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like it was. It doesn't have to be prescriptive like it was when I was growing up. Setting a timer, having a parent saying, go do this. It's much better to have the idea yourself.
Yeah.
And I know so much more than I did back as a child. And I've attained so much more wisdom that it allowed me to be able to deal with the level of awareness that I've achieved. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Also with mental clarity, we know about the brain, and they talk about these different brain states: delta, gamma, theta. What state are we typically in when we're navigating the world? It's beta, correct? Yep, so that's the state. We might be in flight or fight. We may be walking through the world, driving a car. That's the state in which we function most of the time. It's interesting that meditation can either take us into alpha state, which is that beautiful state in which we talk about being in flow, where it just comes naturally. It just flows through us. So meditation can take us there, or it can drop us into the lower brain states in which we are truly relaxed. and letting go. It's so beautiful how it can shift us from where we were to where we need to be.
Exactly. So if someone does struggle with attaining the sleep state, if they would meditate, a lot of times there are many people that, myself and maybe perhaps you at some point, you have so many things on your mind. You need to clean house before you lay down to go to sleep. Right. Otherwise, your brain will keep functioning nonstop. So, thinking about positive affirmations, thinking about peaceful thoughts, thinking about doing something that you love to get rid of the task-oriented things that you need to do. And I find it helpful, if I'm ever struggling to sleep, to have a journal by my bed and just write down different things that come to me.
Beautiful, beautiful. We talked about, there are about 8 different types of meditation that we're covering. What are just a couple of those types that we're going to be touching on?
Well, I would say we'll be looking at mantra meditation, which for our audience purposes, we can think of that as like an affirmation meditation, thinking a positive thought. I am loved, I feel love, something like that. We're going to be looking at Kundalini meditation. We'll be looking at Yoga Nidra, sound meditation, and so many other forms. I mean, it's going to be a really rich course that will have an opportunity for each person to choose what they wish to participate in. And I think that's going to be the beauty of it.
Again, so many people think of meditation as just sitting there, closing their eyes and focusing on the breath and breathing until your mind is blank. And that is one style, right? But there are passive meditations, but then there's also active meditations, like Kundalini yoga or any of the yogas. Union or meditation through a kriya or practice. So when we look at those vast amount of ways to get into that brain state, for instance, a runner who's used to running all the time falls into that brain state when running. They're just running, their mind releases and lets go. So it's a great example of an active meditation. Knitters that are sitting there knitting. Yeah. What would you say is the power behind mantra meditation or affirmation meditation?
I think that anytime we feed our brains positive energy, positive affirmations, it's almost a method of retraining the brain, and the mind will believe what it hears. That's why it's so important when you're raising children that you need to make sure that you feed them positive talk and that you yourself practice positive self-talk. So I think that that is a big benefit of affirmation meditation.
Yeah.
It also makes you feel more comfortable in your space, in time, wherever you are. There are some people that struggle with being alone. They have to have lots of people around them all the time. And I think that that type of meditation would encourage you to seek out more solitude and spend time alone to see what the benefits of that could be.
You know, that changed for me. Through my practice, that shifted for me. Today I find myself loving those moments when I'm home alone.
I can relate. I always had to be around people.
Yeah.
People always thought, oh, well, you're an extrovert because you're around people, you're always talking. But I wasn't an extrovert.
Yeah. Even people that are still need to recharge.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We were talking about mantra meditation, and that feeds into nada yoga or nada meditation, which is sound meditation, NADA. Nad means noise. Nada means flowing sound. It also means river in Sanskrit. Sound meditation. One of the things that I love about sound meditation is that it just allows us to fall into that state so easily. It's a shortcut. It's a shortcut. Yeah, and it is comforting. But it's acoustic-induced meditation. It's one way that we express it. We use acoustic signals, sound, to induce the meditative state. And it allows us to find that state much faster. And mantra is really part of that style of meditation. Making that sound vibrating our chest. Some of the things that I would invite the audience to think about is, what would your life look like if you had a meditation practice? What would your life look like if you were able to be in the present moment? How would relationships work? How would your health be affected? What's one shift that you may notice after 10 minutes of meditation a day?
I would have to say that your spirit will feel like it's shifting. You'll feel this intense sense of renewal, almost as if the cells in your body are regenerating. They feel alive.
Yeah.
And you have a greater sense of energy than you normally would have.
I believe that the science shows that 11 or 12 minutes of meditation will change your brain state for the day. How wonderful is that? The other thing that I like to think about is the fact or the idea that we talked about a shift, and we think about the things that we need to change in our lives, and they feel so drastic, overwhelming, or hard. You know, when a ship is headed in the wrong direction or headed for danger, sometimes it just needs to shift 1 degree in order to miss that danger. And even when we do change course in a ship, it's changing 1 degree at a time. And that's really what meditation can do. Help make these little shifts to take us in a different direction.
Right, and I think a good takeaway for our audience today would be is that we both realize that making change isn't necessarily something that you can do in a day. So I think that you shouldn't have these expectations that are too extreme on yourself, because I would say that it takes 28 days to integrate a new routine into your life. Otherwise, you'll feel like, how can I schedule one more thing? And what I find is helpful for me, for things like meditation, I just have it as a regular recurring slot on my calendar that this is happening at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. every morning. And I can't tell you that it happens every day, but my goal is to try to achieve that. And once you do something for 28 days in a row, whether it be a positive affirmation, whether it be meditation, whether it be a dietary change, it will become natural and it won't feel like something foreign.
Beautiful. You know, Candice, I would say that you were really the force or the inspiration behind us doing this workshop. What inspired you to bring this course to the students?
I felt compelled. I was meditating one day and I thought, what is it that people are missing? You and I have access to a lot of different healing services on a regular basis, meaning sound massage, getting an individual sound bath, acupuncture, massage, whatever it may be, right? Getting personal coaching, seeing a therapist. And some people don't think about treating themselves. And I thought, well, why don't we share our knowledge of a practice that goes back centuries, right?
Right.
With everyone so they can experience what you and I experience. And Wyatt and I have shared, we've done sound training together through Peter Hess.
Yeah, when did we meet each other? Like 2016?
Something like that, yes, yes. So I thought, what better way than to start fresh in 2026?
Yeah.
Refresh, renew, revive.
This course will span 4 days. We have it broken up. And
I think that's good.
Yeah.
Because people have busy schedules, and I think that it will allow them to absorb the information if there's some downtime in between. Do you agree?
I think it allows them to practice or experience the modalities in which we cover in that class. So when we come back and we're ready to learn something new, we have an idea of how the integration worked for the previous modalities. It's similar to going out to eat somewhere fancy. We go and we try a meal, and then the next time we go, we might try something else. And finally, we've settled, me, I do that. And then when I find that thing that I love, I order it every time.
You sound like me.
But until I find it, I try a couple different things out. But yeah, and that's what this will do is give people that opportunity to sample some different styles of meditation.
Absolutely.
What really works for them.
And that's what life's about.
It is.
Trying new things.
So if you're interested in learning some of these types of meditations, if you're interested in making some shifts in your life, to finding some calm and serenity, we'd be happy to have you in this 4-day course.
If the universe leads you, then sign up. We look happy. We are happy to work with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Candice.
Thank you, Wyatt. It was a pleasure.
It was.